programming to the entire community. Visit us online today and help us win the $50,000 challenge from Newman's Own Foundation. Thank you.
Arizona PBS celebrates Arizona history with a moment in time, made possible by Verde Canyon Railroad. About 50,000 years ago, an asteroid crashed into the Earth near Winslow, Arizona. Meteor Crater is considered to be the best preserved crater of its type in the world.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World. Become a news source for the Arizona PBS Public Insight Network. Your ideas and insights can help us create relevant and distinctive reporting. Join now at azpbs.org/pin. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Hospice of the Valley, medical, social, and spiritual care for patients nearing end of life, and support for their families. A not-for-profit community hospice, HOV.org.
From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
After a disappointing election for the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi remains the party leader, which has Arizona House leader sounding off.
Plus, the battle over education funding, what Diane Douglas is planning to do with $680 million in school funding.
And a grant of more than $3 million helping Arizona combat the opioid epidemic, how the state plans to fight off prescription addiction.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Carla Liriano.
And I'm Cassie Ronda. Thank you for joining us. We start with our eye on the Capitol, where House Democrats re-elected Nancy Pelosi as the minority leader earlier today.
This move comes after disappointing election results for the party and has some in Arizona's House delegation going on the record with their disappointment. Sabella Scalise is live in Washington, where she's been gathering reaction on the Hill. Sabella?
Well, Nancy Pelosi managed to keep her seat for a 15th year with the support of more than 2/3 of the Democratic caucus. Just half of Arizona's 4 House Democrats backed Pelosi today.
Right after the votes came in, Arizona Representative Kyrsten Sinema tweeted out her disappointment in the results. She said this should be a time of critical reflection and clear-eyed change, not a time to rubber stamp the failed strategy of the past. We owe better to the American people. Another Arizona Democrat echoed Sinema's feelings of disappointment, but also said it's time for the party to move on.
Look, it was very disappointing, but we had a good discussion. I think the caucus has spoken, but at the same time, there's a message that's being sent to leadership that we want more accountability, we want more inclusion, and we want leadership to be shared, and this to be a bottom-up organization, not a top-down organization.
But Arizona Democrat Raul Grijalva voted for Pelosi, as did incoming Democratic freshman Tom O'Halloran. He spoke to us today and said the vote was respectable and smart for the time we are in. Live in Washington, D.C., Sabella Scalise, Cronkite News.
Donald Trump is tapping into Arizona to help with his transition team. The president-elect appointed Arizona House spokeswoman Stephanie Grisham to a press relations post and added State Treasurer Jeff DeWitt as an operations advisor. Grisham says she will travel with a press pool covering the transition, while DeWitt says he is in a volunteer role that will not require much time. DeWitt was the chief operating officer for the Trump campaign.
President-elect Donald Trump is aiming to fill even more cabinet positions. Trump nominated former Goldman Sachs executive Steve Mnuchin as Treasury Secretary. Mnuchin led Trump's finance operations during the campaign and says he looks forward to shifting his focus from the election to the economy.
Our number one priority is going to be the economy, get back to 3 to 4% growth. We believe that's very sustainable, and focus on things for the American worker. That's absolutely our priority.
The Federal Reserve says that the U.S. economy has grown this fall, in part from a gain in consumer spending. Consumer spending increased 0.3% this October, while incomes jumped 0.6%. The federal survey, known as the Beige Book, shows 7 of the 12 districts describing growth as modest to moderate. The central bank is expected to raise a key interest rate next year because of the gains in employment and slight pickup in inflation. That rate has not been raised in a year.
Homeland Security is working on plans for the Trump presidency. Today, Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson said his team will continue to prioritize criminal deportations, one of the major platforms Trump campaigned on. Johnson says there's already a deportation team in place, but that the Trump administration needs to focus on the underlying cause of illegal immigration as well.
You can build more walls and you can put more border security on the southwest border, but you've got to address the underlying circumstances in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador that motivate a 7-year-old child to transit the entire length of Mexico to come to the United States for a better life.
The government is speeding up plans to send the Haitians back to their home country. This month, Cronkite News talked to Haitians in Nogales, Mexico, where hundreds are waiting to cross. The influx is even larger along the California border. Cronkite News reporter Katie Berry traveled to San Diego, where a pastor and his church cope with the humanitarian crisis.
Estelle Preval waits for the start of Mass in a San Diego church where she once slept on the floor. The Haitian native traveled from Brazil through 10 other countries with her 1-year-old son Joel just to get to the United States.
We ran into many problems: cold, hunger, misery, a lot of work to come here.
She and other Haitians had been living in Brazil, where they were given a humanitarian visa after the 2010 earthquake. But when they could no longer make a living, they set off for the United States.
Many people died on the journey. Many babies, pregnant mothers. In Panama, many people died. I would not be here without my faith.
Walter Ire also relied on his faith during the dangerous trip to the U.S. border.
You have to know that everything you're doing is in God's will. Whatever He wants, we'll do.
Over the past few months, thousands of Haitians have abandoned their home country, made their way through Brazil, parts of Mexico, and attempt to cross into the United States. And here in San Diego at the San Isidro Port of Entry, they've seen by far the most people make that attempt. At its peak, the church provided temporary shelter to 300 people a night.
And so this little Methodist church here became a refugee camp right in the heart of San Diego.
According to the pastor, since June, 4,000 Haitians have stayed at his church.
I mean, they would sleep on the pews, under the pews. They would sleep in the hallway upstairs. It was like a mass grave.
Now, restless children play in the pews where their family once slept. Pastor Jean-Élisée Dorandis came to the United States in 2009. Now he ministers to his fellow Haitians.
It's really shocking when you hear about, people are looking for better life, and it's not easy for them. It's not easy for us as well.
While Ire waits for a date in immigration court, he's required to wear a GPS device on his ankle. As these Haitians face this possibility of deportation, they must rely on their faith once again. In San Diego, Katie Berry, Cronkite News.
The church relies on private donations to help clothe and feed the Haitian migrants. Because of fire code violations, the city asked the church to stop providing shelter, but dozens of people appear on the doorstep daily. On Thanksgiving Day, the pastor turned away 75 Haitian men, women, and children.
A migrant holding facility in Tucson facing federal orders to make improvements. A federal judge ruled that the Tucson Sector Border Patrol must make changes. The ACLU and other immigrant rights groups filed a class action lawsuit in 2015, accusing the agency of failing to maintain humane conditions by keeping detainees in cold, dirty, and overcrowded cells. The judge released these still images taken from surveillance video. Migrants wrapped in mylar sheets, sleeping on concrete floors. The cells are meant to hold migrants up to 12 hours before they're transferred to ICE, but lawyers say that this wasn't the case.
People were not getting out in 4 hours or 6 hours. It became 12 hours, it became overnight, it became 2, 3, 4, and 5 nights that people were staying in these facilities that were never intended nor built for detention.
Border Patrol is now required to monitor cell temperature and provide clean sleeping mats and blankets for detainees held for longer than 12 hours.
The future of Arizona education may have some changes in store. Superintendent of Public Instruction Diane Douglas released her plan. Cronkite News reporter Sarah Lichterman breaks it down for us.
Together, we will continue to move Arizona forward and ensure that every child has the access to an excellent education that allows them to pursue their dreams, their goals, and their God-given talents, and to be successful citizens.
Superintendent of Public Instruction Diane Douglas shared her plan to make that happen at a press conference on Tuesday. The 2017 Arizona Kids Can't Wait plan covers new proposals that Douglas hopes to begin implementing this year, providing $680 million in funding for teachers, buildings, transportation, and state aid, as well as providing education for at-risk youth and Native American and disabled students, and enhancing family engagement. At the press conference here in Phoenix, people raised questions about where Douglas was going to find the millions of extra dollars needed to support her plan.
I made a call for more funding, direct funding for education.
Douglas said she does not appropriate the money, but has looked into using Arizona's rainy day fund. Another concern? How that money will be spent.
It's not just teachers who want better pay. It's people I know who, no matter how you categorize them, some very conservative, but they recognize the incredible job our teachers do and the importance of that position.
Carrie Schaaf, a teacher and mother, supports spending more on education.
It lets teachers know that we support them, it lets school systems know that we support them, and it lets our kids know that we support them, and I think that's a really important step in this process.
Douglas discussed the need to help students not only get through high school, but to continue their education in college. In Phoenix, Sarah Lichterman, Cronkite News.
Douglas's proposals also aim to put an effective teacher in every classroom, implement school health programs, and continue improvement of structured English immersion programs.
New funding in Arizona to battle opioid addiction.
Coming up, Cronkite News continues its commitment to covering the ongoing opioid epidemic across the nation.
Plus, how an Arizona teenager is balancing dancing and a new business venture.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Now.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
Today, the White House hosted a panel on the urgency of funding for opioid and heroin abuse. The Director of National Drug Control Policy urged Congress to provide $1.1 billion in treatment funding. Meanwhile, in Arizona, there are new tools to help several counties fight the opioid epidemic in our state. Dana Lewandowski looked into how grant money from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is being spent.
The Arizona Department of Health Services chose Yavapai, Pima, Mojave, Maricopa, Gila, and Navajo counties to split the $3.6 million in grant money. The grant money will be going to 3 areas: hiring more people to oversee the progress with Arizona's fight against opioid addiction, maintaining the prescription drug monitoring programs, and implementing the Community Action Toolkit. Tommy St. Mars, chief of the Office of Injury Prevention at AZDHS, said, quote, "It's taking the 5 identified strategies and implementing them at the county level, with the emphasis upon ensuring that their pharmacists and prescribers are registered within the prescription drug monitoring programs," end quote. As part of the national fight, the Drug Enforcement Administration has reduced the amount of opioids manufacturers can produce next year. One pharmacist did say that there's a downside to the tighter controls on these narcotics, especially because it forces them to make tough decisions.
We are being limited in our supply, so we have to decide who's going to be able to get their prescriptions filled.
In Phoenix, Dana Lewandowski, Cronkite News.
Prescription drug addictions can happen anywhere, even among some of the world's best athletes. Cronkite Sports reporter Blair McElroy takes the court with the Phoenix Suns to see what they're doing to help players combat the pain without a prescription.
Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Nobody knows this quote better than an athlete.
Most athletes will tell you they don't go a whole season healthy. No one's really ever 100% healthy.
But what do they mean, suffering is optional? Aaron Nelson, Vice President of Athletic Care for the Phoenix Suns, is in his 15th season as the team's head athletic trainer. He says pain is synonymous with the life of an athlete.
The problem is in sports, particularly professional sports, once the season starts, there's no rest. I mean, it's go. We play 82 games over the course from starting in October to April, and then June if you're lucky. And same thing in the NFL and baseball and hockey.
Any given point, you can get hurt and you don't have to go through it. So being familiar with it, our training staff make everybody go through it. Rookies, veterans, doesn't matter.
Athletic trainers are the ones in charge of nursing athletes back to health as quickly but safely as possible.
Health is crucial, man, and our trainers definitely give us knowledge and definitely go over what's illegal, what's legal, what's the best course of action for you.
The Suns athletics staff is considered among the best at sports at helping athletes stay healthy and recover from injuries quickly. Their reputation has been built throughout the years by helping elite athletes such as Shaquille O'Neal and Steve Nash.
To help manage pain, the training staff uses a variety of therapies, including joint mobilization, ice, and cryotherapy. Nelson said he and the team's medical staff try to avoid just giving the players pills.
We try not to prescribe medications. We would prefer to use anything we can do with our hands, basically, to help them move better.
Nelson acknowledged that there are times that the therapies are not enough and drugs are needed. However, the team keeps a very careful eye on players on medication, particularly those given powerful opioids, like oxycodone and Percocet, which can become addictive.
We try to do a really good job of managing that. Again, it's a daily thing. It's not like, here's your stuff, and then let me know how you are at the end of the week. We're constantly educating them and saying, they might come back in and say, hey, can I take some more of this? And we're like, no, you already had it. It was 2.5 hours ago. You have to wait another couple hours. Things like that. So constantly monitoring and educating them.
But according to Nelson, many people fail to realize that dependency isn't limited strictly to prescription drugs.
It can all be dangerous. I mean, if you're taking even Advil, if you're taking it every day, 4 times a day, or if you're taking, 4 twice or 3 times a day, anything and it's abused over the course of a period of time for weeks and months, it can be dangerous.
Sometimes you do have to take a little Advil or Tylenol at certain times because sometimes you have a back-to-back games and try to get you through where maybe you're not severely hurt to not play, but you're not 100%. That happens throughout the course of the year.
But when that doesn't work, Dudley says sometimes what the doctor ordered is just some simple, old-fashioned R&R.
Best thing is eat right, get your rest, and take care of your body.
The relationship between pain and sport is inevitable, but what matters in that relationship is the athlete and to what degree he or she is able to successfully navigate that relationship. In Phoenix, Blair McElroy, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is committed to the continuing coverage of opioid abuses across Arizona and the nation. The Cronkite School would broadcast Hooked Prescription for Addiction, a follow-up to our Hooked Heroin project from 2 years ago. This new documentary will air January 10th across all media outlets in Arizona.
If you've been outside, you've noticed a drop in temperatures. Will this trend continue?
Coming up on Cronkite News.
Here's a look at your current temperatures across the country, but will these cool temperatures drop? I'll have your full forecast up here next on Cronkite News.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm always searching to feel like I fit into something.
We are the people that we are because of our past.
They said it's complicated. They said we never make it this far.
I'm just one of many who stopped being silent.
They said the fight would break us, the struggle helped to make who we are.
It's just proof of how far we have come.
Make sure in all the hustle and bustle, we don't lose sight of why we're here.
It all boils down to communicating the lives we live.
If you look closely, they've got a story to tell.
It connects with you in a very deep way.
We wish you love, peace, and soul.
Come with us on this great adventure.
I've been getting used to waking up.
Come and play with us.
Onward and onward!
Good ideas open up a whole new world of possibilities.
The more you know about history, the more you know about yourself.
The sky is the limit.
Where I go, there you are.
It may not look like winter up north today, but ADOT is ready for more snow at the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. The department's annual shutdown of the North Rim Highway starts tomorrow. Officials say the area receives upwards of 10 feet of snow each year. The snow piles up and is cleared before reopening each spring. Most visitor facilities have already shut down for the winter, but the 43-mile-long stretch of State Route 67 to the North Rim will close tomorrow through mid-May. You can still visit the national park. The south rim of the canyon remains open year-round.
The south rim only averages 4 feet of snow each year, but right now it's looking pretty clear.
That's right, a bit chilly, but no snow in the area right now. And we take a live look at the area. You see it's clear skies. I have 38 degrees, currently sitting at 33 degrees, the forecast in the coming days. But now taking a look here into the valley, here are your current temperatures, low to mid 60s. It does dip into the 50s, 58 degrees in Florence in the east of the valley. Over the next 24 hours, this is what it's going to look like. It does dip into the 30s going into the nighttime tonight and going into the morning. However, going into the rest of the day, it is in the 60s. Here's your valley forecast with the wind throughout Phoenix, and then going into Friday, you will see some spotted snow in Arizona. Here's what the rest of your 7-day forecast looks like. It does spike up into 68, 66 over the weekend, 10% chance of rain on Saturday. Sarah Lichterman, Cronkite Weather.
A 13-year-long passion culminating in a new business.
And the creator is only 16 years old. Coming up on Cronkite News, how a young Arizonan has danced her way to a successful business venture.
The confidence to lead our country.
This isn't reality television.
I feel like Hamilton reached out from history and wouldn't let me go until I told his story.
I make no apology for my actions. I would do the same again.
How we come so far and yet have so far to go.
Right there, coming up.
In 1920s Melbourne,
Careful with the hand luggage. My pistol's in there somewhere and it may still be loaded.
Phryne Fisher is a detective.
Things could get interesting around here.
Thought they already were.
Who isn't afraid to live a little.
I hope you're not concealing a dangerous weapon under that skirt.
I'm concealing a lot of things.
Why do you think you can just run off on your own?
Because I'm carrying a gun.
The irresistible series, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries.
Saturday night at 10 on Arizona PBS.
Hi, I'm Charlie Rose. As part of the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at ASU, Arizona PBS is providing a state-of-the-art venue for the next generation of journalists. From newsrooms in Washington, Los Angeles, and here in Phoenix, students engage in real-time, real-world news reporting, broadcast production, and online innovation. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS working together in new ways to bridge the classroom to the community in the digital age.
First, a dancer on the Dance Moms TV show, and now the owner of her own online business. Cronkite News reporter Alicia Gonzalez tells us how this 16-year-old from Cave Creek is trying to spread positivity through the dance world.
When I was on my way to meet Tessa Wilkinson, I was expecting to meet a dance diva. Instead, I was met with a down-to-earth teen who just wants to take control of her own life and get out of a negative environment. Dancers aren't just judged on their talent. They're also judged on their looks, body type, even their hair color.
In the industry, it all just depends on people picking you. You know, if you have brown hair, if blah, blah, blah.
But it's not as insane as some reality TV shows try to make it look, according to these two former Dance Moms cast members.
The dance industry is not crazy bad like it's represented.
However, when you learn the magnitude of what it could do for a career, then you try to like it. You know, then you try to say, okay, there's got to be some good in this.
Tessa said she needed to take back control of her life after an intense 3 seasons of Dance Moms and be her own boss. So she created a place for dancers like her to turn to.
Give something, make a business, make a company that dancers can go on and learn things and feel confident and positive, and then I brought those products in.
Her online store includes inspirational messages and blogs giving advice. Tessa says the products are to help make the lives of other dancers easier, knowing the rigorous lifestyle herself.
I'm still in it. I'm 16. I'm still in the business. I'm dancing. I'm auditioning, so I know what a dancer needs, and I'm still experiencing it.
Jack Lunsford from Arizona Small Business Association says starting at such a young age gives Tessa an edge.
For young people to have that kind of experience is extremely important for their success in the future.
He said there's one thing that's vital for anyone's success.
It's important regardless of whether you're 50 years old and starting a business or whether you're 16 years old and starting a business, to have that support system.
For Tessa, that support system is her family, who has helped her every step of the way. Tessa says she plans on continuing her dancing career and to give her business the equal time it deserves. She's in her senior year of online high school and is ready to leap right into college next fall. In the Broadcast Center, Alicia Gonzalez, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
Coming up on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear from the new ambassador from Mexico to the U.S. And we'll take a look at a program in Maricopa County that's helping veterans re-enter into everyday life. That's next on Arizona Horizon.
I'm Hari Srinivasan on the next NewsHour on the ground in Cuba. Special correspondent Nick Schifrin reports on life on the island after Castro's death. That's Wednesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
All cast to places.
Lynn didn't say I was writing a show. Lynn said I'm writing a song.
I worked on it for about a year.
When you told us, I'm going to do a rap about Alexander Hamilton, we said, well, good luck with that. Right?
Our show opened on Tuesday and the world blew up.
I have more than once compared Lynn to Shakespeare.
I knew that Hamilton was going to change my life.
Hamilton is somewhere going, thank you.
Tonight at 8 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Arizona PBS is kicking off this season of giving with a new and exciting year-end challenge from Newman's Own Foundation. Make a generous gift to Arizona PBS, and Newman's Own Foundation will match all contributions dollar for dollar, up to $50,000. Your gift to Arizona PBS will provide the best in news, science, history, drama, and children's programming to the entire community. Visit us online today and help us win the $50,000 challenge from Newman's Own Foundation. Thank you.
Arizona PBS celebrates Arizona history with a moment in time, made possible by Rock Springs Cafe. Tombstone, Arizona is home to the largest rose bush in the world, the Lady Banksia rose. Planted in 1885, it covers 9,000 square feet with a trunk measuring 12 feet in diameter.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
Find more ways to explore at pbs.org/anywhere.
And I can't wait to get on the road again, picking Merle.
Last of the Breed, a once-in-a-lifetime event with music legends Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, and Ray Price, only on PBS.
Thursday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Arizona PBS would like to thank Yupa's Thai Kitchen for their support of public television in Arizona.
Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
more than 90% of the time, hospice care is delivered in the best place of all, home. Hospice of the Valley has been providing quality care at home since 1977. Not for profit, for comfort.
Lights of the World International Light Festival is coming to Phoenix. Life-size dinosaur exhibit, daily acrobatic shows, and over 25 acres of light displays. November 18th through January 29th at Rawhide Wild Horse Pass. Information at lightsoftheworldus.com.
Ironwood Cancer Research Centers specialize in prostate cancer treatment and is a proud member of the Association of Community Cancer Centers. Patients have access to robotic surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and clinical trials.
Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll talk to the new Mexican ambassador to the United States about the